Hi, everyone. Hi. All right, so I'm Kate Rigg. I produce and co-host Disorientalism at Joe's Pub at the Public Theater and around the city. And thank you. I want to thank you so much for having us here today, Middle Church. This is our second time bringing you some music and some gifts from the performers at Disorientalism and talking about the work we do to uplift, amplify, and celebrate the voices of American Asian artists in New York City. So I say, you heard Sam refer to this, I always say American Asian artists because one of the first tenets of racial discrimination and bias against us, especially since the pandemic, is this persistent idea that all Asians are foreigners or aliens in America, strangers who belong somewhere else, no matter how many generations in they are. And we saw during the pandemic the real life impact that had on people with ancestry from around the Asian diaspora. This idea that all Asians look the same or that everybody is Chinese or Japanese, it expanded during the pandemic out of the territory of like naughty office joke, ching-chong jokes at the water cooler and people pulling their eyes in Chinatown to take photographs, or even the whole Spanish Olympic team, the basketball team, posing for publicity photos in Beijing like this. These kinds of microaggressions, you could argue, are only harmful because they hurt people's feelings by dehumanizing them and making them the butt of jokes. But let's have that little underscore here. During the pandemic, we left that territory, and those microaggressions metastasized into macroaggressions, and they were enabled by this very public noise that was happening about the China virus and the Kung flu, which resulted in Asian Americans being lit on fire in Chinatown, or old Filipino grandmas being thrown into the subway tracks, or the businesses of Asian entrepreneurs around the country being looted and sacked. And during this time, anyone who looked Asian felt very unsafe, including many of the Asian adoptees from around the world, from Korea, from Vietnam, from the Philippines, from Cambodia. Suddenly, those people were feeling very out of sorts. We got a lot of phone calls. They were very traumatized by their identity in a whole new way. So that's why I say American Asian most of the time when I speak about us. It's to remind everyone that an American looks like this too. Stop that for a second. I'm going to tell you a couple more things. We'll cut that for a minute and then we'll keep going. We're going to underscore certain parts of this speech because I'm a performer and I have ADD and I get bored, and I don't want you to get bored. So today's the last day of AANHPI Heritage Month, Asian Heritage Month in the United States. It's also Jewish Heritage Month, and it's also Young Achievers of America Month, which is redundant for Asians. You know why. It was George H.W. Bush who officially announced AAPI Heritage Month, and fun fact, on January 20th of last year, this administration eliminated Asian Heritage Month, but luckily for us, there's a new Mahjong movie on the Hallmark Channel starring a bunch of white people, so you know, that's a form of resistance, I guess. Anyhow, I'm here to tell you about this event. I'm invited here because Middle Church is a community partner for this event that we do every year at Disorientalism at Joe's Pub. And for those who don't know what Orientalism is, it's a term that was coined by the Palestinian scholar and writer Edward Said. He wrote a book in the 70s called Orientalism, and essentially it means the othering or the objectification, the dehumanizing of people from the Orient, whatever that is, which is just a construct of being not Western. So if you want to check that book out, it's out there, and we all studied it in the 90s in university. Our project started during the pandemic. So what happened was, Joe's Pub called me while I was sheltering in place and said, we need to do something to respond to this China virus Kung flu thing that's happening out in the media. And so I curated and hosted a bunch of American Asian artists that I knew from my kitchen. I put up a fake brick wall backdrop, and we just online did this show, and we called it A Cure for Kung Flu. And then when the theater opened up again, we changed the name to Disorientalism, and I joined forces with my co-host, who couldn't be here today because she's teaching a bunch of young people, but my co-host is the very lovely and talented Japanese-American Olivia Oguma, who is a Broadway and musical theater performer, as well as a writer and teacher now, and she's always operated within this community with tons of love. So it felt good to join. When two or more are gathered, you know what happens. The light enters. So that's us. And you've already heard from one of the performers from Disorientalism, Sam Poon. You will also hear from the lovely and talented E.J. Zimmerman in just a moment. All of our performers are called from the best of New York City's Broadway community, comedy, dance, and classical music. And and we do it because I think artists keep us focused on humanity, even as very inhumane things happen in the streets and the battlefields around us. More underscore, please. I want to tell you that it took a long time. It took a very long time for me to figure out what I was going to talk about today. I think I felt intimidated by the audacity that it takes to stand up in front of a bunch of people and just speak your truth to power, but also to offer hope and inspiration. It just takes a lot of audacity, and I'm a comedian, and I'm a punk rock spoken word artist, and still, this intimidated me because it does take audacity to think that any of us have anything to offer to other people when we're just trying to get by in our own lives. And it's so easy to feel silenced right now, or to feel like no one's really listening. So also, there are actual real attempts out there in the world being made to silence us politically, culturally. You belong to Middle Church. You know what time it is out there. And so, my act of bravery today is to stand here and speak to you with my mind made vulnerable by all the aggression, micro and macro, that I feel as a woman of color, as a queer woman of color, as a queer woman of color who is also an artist, or as the White House likes to call me now, system error, page 404, page not found. I work with the fear that my voice, that our voices are too small to redeem people who have no platform, or to save another Indonesian grandma from being attacked in her apartment hallway, or to reassure some aspiring actor or corporate lawyer or entrepreneur that their physical and ethnic being won't block them from feeling safe and successful in the world. And I guess my message is both to show you that it takes audacity. It takes audacity to show up and to make a show like Disorientalism, just to get 150 people in that room. You know, Shanta, you know how much it takes to do that. It takes audacity to work as an artist in a landscape where there are very few role models for us outside of cartoon characters like the K-pop Demon Hunters, or performers who are so well established in Korea and Chinese movie industries like Michelle Yeoh or Jackie Chan, but not so many scrappy American Asian artist role models. So it was also audacious for Reverend Natalie to call us last month and offer to be a community partner to Disorientalism, just out of the blue, and to invite us here and to share some of their resources, to actually give us some sponsorship, to pay for artists and pay for the spaces out of nowhere. And I see this as graceful. And there's grace in all the sponsorships we get, or people buying tickets, or just showing up and giving at the capacity they have. Like, you know how they say, you know how the word says that it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to get into heaven? That's because they're not giving at their capacity. And what does that mean in terms of giving your time or your energy, your kindness, etc., reaching across cultures and taking chances, having the audacity to show up and tell your own story, but also to show up for other people in their audacity, literally supporting artists and energizing your own community while being brave enough to step into others' communities and show them other support too. Okay, we'll cut the underscore because I'm about to kvetch for a minute. Okay, so look, I'm shocked sometimes when I look at my Instagram feeds and my friends, and I see their friends and their families and their wedding pictures, and it's all people from the same group. like it's all white people with white people, black people with black people. And it's like, you know, New York City isn't really like that, okay? It's not. So why are our little microcosms like that? Why do we have these microcosms inside this beautiful city? And I know, look, this room's not like that, and a lot of people in the room are not like that, but I also know that we are woefully unaware of each other's stories and narratives, and that is a pathway to healing, to become more aware and to listen. And we're not immune inside our own affinity groups, that's for sure. My mother was one of the most racially biased people you want to meet. My brown-skinned, accented, Indonesian immigrant mother, okay? Right now she's saying in my head, I hate your father, he looked like a pig, why you wear black all the time? So depressing, not too late for medical school, okay? When the Olympics were in Beijing, she said, I don't want to watch that. Too many Chinese people in there. My mother said that. That's why I'm constantly in a shame spiral, all right? By the way, if I was in the Olympics, my sport would be water retention. I'm very good at sodium intake. All right, so anyways, let's do the dragon now, because we're coming to the end. What are the themes here? Willingness, generosity, audacity, the courage to show up. Give me those chimes too. Even if you don't know how it's going to turn out, supporting people and uplifting them and giving to capacity. Basically, faith, hope, and charity, Corinthians 13. The audacity to show up for your neighbor as an artist, as an audience, as a sponsor, as a congregant. It's really faith, right? It's faith that it's going to work out for everybody. And why do you do it? Because you hope you'll have an impact, or something wonderful will happen, or there'll be grace in that moment. And giving yourself in that showing up, giving yourself, that's charity. It's love. So what I'm telling you guys is I hope that the next time it's Asian Heritage Month, you'll do some Asian stuff. And when it's Black History Month, you'll do some black stuff. And Pride Month is coming up, so please do some gay stuff. You know, maybe don't do poppers because they're illegal right now, but do other gay stuff. Go dance, or go to the Pride March, or hear a speaker, or visit the Stonewall Museum. Give at capacity. I'm going to finish with we did Corinthians 12. So Corinthians 12 ends on a kind of a cliffhanger, like I'm going to show you how, and then it doesn't tell you. So you have to go to Corinthians 13. So I'm going to finish with a little Corinthians 13. Love never fails, but where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when completeness comes, what is in part disappears. For now, we see reflection as in a mirror. Then we see face to face. Now, I know in part. Then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. And now these three remain. Now these three remain. Faith, hope, and love, or charity from King James. But the greatest of these is what? Love. Thank you very much. Hope to see you at the next Disorientalism.